One device, a type of server, is a proxy server that we often put on a network. In this case, I've got a network. Everything on this side of the router is on a network. This is a switch so that we can connect multiple devices. I could have 100 devices here, but in this case I've got a computer with a private IP address. I've got a server which is a proxy server with a public IP address. Now this doesn't have to be a public IP address. It could also be a private IP address. In this case I just happened to choose a public IP address instead. The idea of the proxy server is that it makes requests on behalf of other computers. So here's how it would work. If I want to send a packet to this web server over here, I would have set up on this computer to use a proxy server. Let me show you how that's done. I'm going to escape from here, and I'm actually going to go to my settings on my own computer, and I'm going to go to Network and Internet, down to Proxy, and you'll see I have a manual proxy set up. If I turn on Use a Proxy Server, I can put the IP address of that proxy server, and everything will go through that proxy server before it goes out to the internet or anywhere else. All right, back to this. So I have this computer set up to use a proxy server the way I just showed you. It's going to send the packet to the switch. The switch will now send it, the destination address of that packet will be this proxy server. This proxy server in turn will make the request on behalf of this computer. It'll go out to the internet, get the web page, it will come back and back to the proxy server. The server will now send it back to the computer like this. All right, so that's what the proxy server does. Now, why do we need that? Well, there are 5 different things that I could think of. 3 were in your textbook that are good reasons to use a proxy server. The original idea was to cache content to reduce traffic on the network. Sometimes on very large networks, you have a lot of computers accessing the same things. Well, if this proxy server can maintain that data, and it can serve that data back up to all the computers without them having to go out to another computer to do it. Why should all of them go to weather.com on a bad weather day when this proxy server can cache that information and send it directly to those computers without having to go out on the internet and back again? So that saved a lot of money in the early days when web traffic costs a lot of money. Today we have unlimited content, so that's not as big a deal anymore. It can also filter prohibited traffic. So in other words, this can act as sort of a firewall, and I can say, well, certain kinds of content I don't want people to be able to get. I don't want them to be able to get to gambling sites or porn sites or whatever. Well, I can filter that using a proxy server. I can also check content for malicious content. I can also use a proxy server as a NAT device. Now in this case, this would be a perfect NAT device because I've actually given this public address to it. And so it can take this private address, translate to a public address, and then back out. It can also hide the addresses of other computers. I have a public address here, but nobody knows the IP address of this private computer over here from the outside. And so it sort of acts also as a security feature in order to hide computers here. So that's a proxy server.